Where are people with significant assets putting their money in right now? This presentation goes over that, and it takes a defensive position with upside exposure. And this video was recorded on August 1st. So the four key areas we're going to look at are bullion, crypto, cash, and land. Bullion. The pros are it's historically proven. We know that for as long as we can see in history, bullion has been used to transact. So silver and gold have had value forever. They're proven, they're solid, they're safe. Um, it's there's a lot of strength in bullion. Now, it also has a low percentage downside relative to today's price. So from today's price, and let's use the silver ounces, the basis. From today's price, the silver ounce is $26. Maybe bullion worst case scenario goes down to let's say $15. But it's hard to see it going much lower than that. It has value, and moreover, the price has been suppressed for a long time. So with that, if it gets uncoiled, that price could spring up, and then from there, strong percentage upside. And 2x is not even what I'm referring to. It's very strong upside. It could be into the 5 to 10 multiples for both gold and silver. So very strong upside to owning bullion. But a downside is it's difficult to transact, right? Like our transactions happen online now, and then they happen with credit cards, and we rarely use cash. But even cash has an advantage on bullion in that it would be difficult to transact with bullion. So it really have to be a barter scenario or a trade scenario where bullion comes into effect, because you can't. It's cumbersome to break down bullion into partials. Now there might be some system that develops where there's a transfer of wealth, or there's a intermediary helping with transactions online. Maybe that happens, but right now difficult to transact with bullion. There's a security risk with bullion, and so when I'm talking about bullion, I'm talking about having it on your physical person, not paper at all. Like there's no IOUs, nothing like that. To me, for this slide to count, you have to physically own the bullion. So with that, and there are some reputable places that do offer storage services, but I'm primarily talking about having it physically. So when you do have it physically, you can once people find out about that, or even if it just becomes a risk, because especially the more you have, the more you accumulate, the bigger risk you have, and you have to protect it. And then what are you going to do? How do you transport it? Especially with silver. So silver is heavy. Silver, there's a lot to do with silver. So you have to account for that physical transportation, the physical storage, the security risk. Um, you could make all the right moves and then just have someone end up taking it from you anyway, and then you don't have any bullion. So for as safe as it is, alongside history goes with um, having currency taken, and then similar to that, there's also the confiscation risk. Um, with bullion and the control of money comes power. So so bullion actually takes control, takes power from fiat currency. So there might be a scenario where it's confiscated, and you have to keep that in mind. I don't know if that takes the value down to zero. Maybe there's some exchange made there, but it's a very real risk, so it has to be considered. So in my um, in my abstract allocation, I put 80% silver and 20% gold. I think silver has more upside because the price will be lower. It'll be easier to attain. It's got real world use scenarios where it's used in industry. It's used in electronics. It's used for cars. So a lot of uses for silver, and they are extensive. So that's why I like silver so much. It's not just the investment. It's not the speculation. It's not just the store of value because it's a precious metal. There's actual real world use for it. Um, so I was 80% on silver, 20% on gold, and then crypto. Um, crypto is the future of transactions, right? We know transactions are going to happen digitally. So we know if there's digital transactions being made, it's going to be with crypto or some other, some kind of digital currency. Um, there's extreme downside to crypto. I mean, just to speak to this extreme, to the percentages, there's extreme percentage both downside and upside. So there, Michael Burry has warned against crypto going to just being flattened, and um, so I think a case where crypto is loses 90% of its current price is possible. But there's also extreme upside. So a scenario where crypto 10x, 20x, 50x is very possible. It's very much within the realm of possibility. So in terms of its value, it's polarizing. It can I think that there's a scenario where crypto can go um, very far down or very far up. um, so another pro of crypto is that it's currently used in transactions. Like it is actually being used right now by people, and beyond speculation, beyond just investing, beyond holding for the future. It is being used in transactions, and that and when I talk, and not only that, it allows you to be your own bank. It allows you to take away that intermediary and just deal peer to peer. So it's current transactions. It gives you control, and there's real world value in it right now, not just in the future. It just hasn't taken hold yet. Um, but there is security risk, right? You can lose crypto any number of ways. So let's say even a sophisticated user could have malware on their computer. They're unaware, and then the crypto gets taken, or there could be a phishing scam, or especially with people that are newer to crypto, there are so many ways to lose your cryptocurrency. You send it to the wrong address, or um, there's just any number of ways that you can lose your crypto. So maybe everything goes right, you do everything right, but you end up getting a fake wallet or a fake. It could easily happen. The other day I was looking at Trezor, and um, there was a fake Trezor site. So, and it said it was the official site. So there's a very real security risk when it comes to crypto, and you can easily lose everything you have. There's also the ban possibility. It's with money comes power, and the control of money is very, very important. And so it's very possible that crypto gets banned. It's already happened in some countries, and it could very well happen in others. So if it gets banned, you could say, well, I'm going to hold on to it. I'm not letting go. But if it's banned, it's going to be it's going to you're going to see a price drop, and you're going to see it. It's also going to be just difficult to use. So that's important. And then there's also the selection part of this. Let's say you go beyond Bitcoin, and then you start getting into these other tokens and coins. Um, you may end up picking, let's say, the wrong one. So um, for my abstract allocation here, I have 15% Bitcoin, 35% Ethereum, and then 50% alts. Um, Bitcoin is the safest. It has upside, but I don't think it has nearly as much upside as some of these other, like let's just say other cryptocurrencies. So when we look at Ethereum, there's tremendous upside here. Silver is somewhat akin to, um, still, I mean, Ethereum is somewhat analogous to silver in that it has multiple uses, and that's very, very important to me when something not only has value but has utility. I mean, not just value, but it's worth something just in and of itself, and then there's the utility of it. And I know that's overlapping, but the point is that Ethereum has multiple uses for the sake of simplicity. And I know that people might argue with this, but let's just think of Bitcoin as digital gold. And then, but with Ethereum, there's more downside because it could potentially be overtaken by a more advanced, um, a more advanced project like let's say like Cardano. There's Cardano as an Ethereum potentially could overtake Ethereum. There is also Polkadot, and then we've got to consider just some of these other cryptocurrencies out there. I mean, and this could go in your alt portfolio, but something like Ripple or Digibyte. So there's all like once you start getting into crypto, you start to see that there are so many different options, but not all of these options are going to pan out. We just don't. We have it just hasn't shaken out yet. So with that comes opportunity, but there also could be a scenario where I talked about in the previous slide where you make the wrong selections. But diversifying, having a strong portfolio rooted in Bitcoin and Ethereum, that's currently a good way to go. Cash is somewhat of a contrarian play, but it's relevant now. It's got purchasing power. And when I speak to cash, I'm talking primarily about credit cards. Being able to use your credit card and have that cash on hand, and then having that cash in your bank account. But there could also be physical cash in play. I just see that as I'm not as big on physical cash, but cash has purchasing power, and it may have increased purchasing power in the deflationary months ahead. It's also got real transactions are happening right now with cash, right? It's used all the time. It has been the standard for the longest time, and it's government approved. So the downsides are there can easily be access restriction to access to cash. This happened to me the other day. My credit card had a charge flagged. I called in. The credit card said the credit card acknowledged it, but said they had to send a letter and it had to be physical. Um, and I had to wait 6 days to use my credit, and so that is real restriction on access. And then it happens all the time at banks. Anytime you get into the four figures, they're reluctant to release. There's some delayed period. Um, they ask questions. Where did you get it? It's you have to prove yourself. There's a lot of restriction with cash, and so that's a major downside. Of course, the diluted value from inflation. It's also the possibility that it gets phased out. It's a very real possibility. It's been talked about extensively. The possibility of and this is happening. I'm thinking of the U.S., but this has already happened. Is moving from the standard cash to a digital cash of the sovereign currency. And then momentum. The momentum is all moving away from cash. So cash will be, when I say relevant now, I mean now. I mean, these coming days, weeks, months. But the phase, whether it's the phase out, whether it's the momentum, or whether it's just the inflation catching up to cash, everything is moving away from it. So this could be United States dollar, that's what I'm thinking about, but it could also be any sovereign currency. And then land. Land is historically proven. It's scarce, especially when you get to the diversification of land and the different types of land. A lot of scarcity. Um, there's resources on land. Land is adaptable. Land can be used as an income source. So you could rent out your land. Um, you might have water rights. You might have mineral rights, different oil rights. There's all different types of things that can come of land. You can use land to grow crops. So land is just it can produce so much. It's not just the land itself. It's what comes with it. It's not just the space. It's the other things can be there. Of course, when you're looking at desirable land, it comes at a higher price point. You can't just go out and buy it. It is a process, and that's my last bullet point here. Is like it is a process to get land. It takes time, and you need good credit to do it. So these things all play a factor. And when I talk about process, you could buy land sight unseen, but that would be a very risky idea. And so this gets to my last slide. When we talk about land, I'm not referring to homes, although homes could be on the land, but I'm not talking about buying a home. I'm talking about buying land. I'm not saying homes are a bad buy, but I think they will be available cheaper in the near term. So I'm not listing out homes. I'm talking about pure land, and you have to look out for, is it usable? Is it on a cliff? Does it is the water of quality, or is the water polluted? Right? You might have waterfront property, but if the water's polluted, that totally takes away from it. Is it by a landfill? Does it, what are the conditions of the land? And these are all things that aren't, aren't readily known unless someone tells you, and someone selling the land is going to shade that, or they may omit it altogether. And then is there a title controversy? Is do you get full rights? And that's really important because sometimes the land segments out the rights, and you won't have full rights to the land. Is there an easement on the land? How is the access? All of these things count. Who owns the land next to you? What are the restrictions on the use of land, and so forth? So you wouldn't want it would be very risky to just buy it straight off of, let's say, Zillow. But land is definitely something where, if you have that ability, it is a good place to store your wealth, and that is it.